This podcast will talk you through the ups and downs in the entertainment industry.
Each and every one of you has a talent, but it's a tough business. People gonna tell you, get a real job.
By introducing you to sustainable, moldable methods in a crazy, cutthroat world.
Let us harness our willpower and take real action.
Don't let it get you down.
Join me, brothers and sisters, on a journey through trials and tribulations.
Unfake it till you make it.
Why, hello there, my friends and new friends. I'm Tony Suriano, and welcome to episode 12 of the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. If you are a new listener, let me give you the 30-second spiel about what this podcast is all about. I seek out professional people in the entertainment industry who I look up to in some way. That can range from rock stars to cinematographers to film producers to magicians to acrobatic dancers to lighting experts and many other working creatives in the industry. I find out how they deal with the ups and downs, and how they stay just sane enough to never give up in a cutthroat world. I look inside their beautiful brains and suck it up. Their soul is mine. Who remembers Shang Tsung? Anybody? Okay, I reflect on their different perspectives and pick and choose what I can apply to my own life, and then I take action and implement. Then I share it to all of you wonderful, creative comrades. My guest today is Ryan Connolly. He is a man of contribution and a man of quality, and I'm very excited to have him on the show. He's an American filmmaker and the creator of Film Riot, one of my favorite YouTube channels that teaches and explores the art of filmmaking in a fun and effective way. They have some hilarious skits. I've been a big fan since 2010. And now they have over 1 million subscribers, which is incredible. Besides producing 800 plus episodes for his show, Ryan is also a talented writer and director who has produced some freaking cool short films. His filmosophy and dedication is truly inspiring. We had a lot of fun and a lot of in-depth insights in this episode. And now, without any further introduction, please enjoy my conversation with Ryan Connolly. How long have you been in Texas?
I think this is 6 years now.
Oh, all right. So you know the place. I got lost in El Paso and almost drifted into Mexico on my motorcycle in 2010. Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm all the way up by Dallas. I've never gone that far south.
Okay.
But I don't really know much of any areas because all I do is work. So I don't really get out much.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine all the stuff you have available out there. It's a lot of work, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Hey,
man.
First of all, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. And
absolutely, man.
And second of all, I want to thank you again for just the fact that you created Film Riot and making it available to the world. Literally, for filmmakers that haven't watched Film Riot, you guys must. I'm just saying that right now.
Should I be recording?
Oh, yeah, you know what? That'd be amazing. You should.
Okay. I didn't know we started.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I literally try to record as soon as possible, but that's,
gotcha.
Just because.
All right, well, I'm now officially recording on my side as well.
All right. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
It's going well. How about yourself?
Redo.
So, okay, I will say once again, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to congratulate you. I noticed you guys passed the 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Which is insanely awesome, dude.
Yeah, we passed that last year, I think, and it was just that was a nice mile marker there.
Yeah.
Now I want 2 million.
Yes, and it's like the thought that you're reaching so many people that get inspired, man, and want to do films, and they have like no budget, but it's fucking great.
That's awesome.
So what I was saying is I tweeted you a ways back because Film Riot and yourself is seriously the number one reason why I sold my first spec commercial back in 2012, and that included me jumping over a moving car. And because I took a sip of this healthy drink, and the company that I pitched to, and I'm like, wow, and there's a car coming, and I hop over it, and I think that literally did it for them.
That's awesome.
And I learned our favorite editing technique called masking. So, and you're an expert at explaining that. Would you mind kind of telling people what masking is? That laborious, beautiful task.
Masking, that's just the process of cutting out a section of one footage to reveal the footage beneath it, pretty much.
Well put. Yeah, and it could take hours on hours depending on what you're doing, frame by frame.
Sure. I try to do it as little as possible nowadays. I usually send it off to other people to do.
That's great.
Someone who, that's what they do is they do roto and whatnot. They have so many tricks and whatnot to make extremely difficult roto situations work really, really well and 10 times faster than me. One of my guys turned around what would have taken me an entire day in like an hour. And I'm like, there's no way it's done.
Yeah.
I'm going to have so many notes. And I was just like, oh my God.
That's great. I know, that's a good feeling. So that commercial, I literally, I like, at that time, I pretty much sold all my film equipment, and all my computer stuff. I moved in with my sister and she had like this weight room in her back garage. I lived there. I was just kind of scarce for my money. And I used her laptop, which is so slow, to edit that whole thing. And I got halfway through, and then Premiere. Sometimes it's like, oh, everything I lost.
Oh yeah.
It was intense, but somehow I kept doing it, and it was like a big turnaround for me. So.
Yeah, man. When I first started Film Riot, I was working on this. Like at the time, it was already like a 3 or 4 year old HP laptop, which this is 2009, so not awesome. And so doing the episodes, having to key all the stand up bits, it was so difficult. So I would have to cut it, put it in there, try to get like okay, I'm pretty sure the green, the key looks good here, because you couldn't really fully see it because it would take so long to even fully preview one single frame. So there was a lot of guessing that it's okay, and then I would just have to hit export on it, hoping that I was right. And it would take 12, 14 hours just to key an episode.
God, that's insane. Yeah, I can relate. Yeah, it's funny. You have to guess, and then you look at it and you go, shit, and you have to just wait another 14 hours.
Yeah, totally. Those were the dark days.
Yeah. Oh, man. Hey, so I mentioned Jurassic Park on your icon there, and that's still, it's, as I remember, one of your favorite films, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one of mine as well, and guess who I met recently, who was a huge part of that film?
Dean Cundy.
Yes.
Yeah, he's around lately. Dude. I met him a little bit ago at a thing called Masters in Motion, and awesome. I guess he's been doing rounds at educational things and whatnot. Where'd you meet him?
Yeah, it sounds like that. He was screening the Escape from New York film that he shot, and I just he was signing autographs, so I waited in line, and it was funny. I had my business card. I turned it around with a marker. I'm like, hey, my name's Tony Siriano. I do the host of the show. Maybe you could be on it. And I gave it to him, and he felt obligated to give me his email. And it was awesome. He's a really nice guy, and I'm looking forward to interviewing him. Apparently this week he might be free, so he's been emailing me.
Yeah, man. He's cool. Wonderful. When he did Masters in Motion, he just put his email up on the screen. He's like, wow. Yeah, if any of you even have a question, just let me know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did. Masters in Motion is like this yearly... in Texas, it's in Austin, yearly film conference where people teach at and whatever. And I've taught a few times there, and I taught this class that year just about directing and different things like that. And I just kept joking because he was there teaching as well. And I kept joking that if Dean Cundy walks in those doors, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm just jumping through the window and I'm calling it quits. Assuming that there's no freaking way Dean Cundy's walking around looking at people's classes. And sure enough, he walks in the doors to sit in for my class. And I was like, this is the worst day of my life. It's just I need to teach a class with Dean Cundy sitting there listening. But he was really interested the whole time and came up because I like to get people involved. I don't like people sitting there looking at me. So I get everybody up and coming and look at the monitor and getting involved in what's going on. And he's coming up and looking at the monitor. He even asked a question. I was like, this is incredible. Just to be like, one of the masters, this far into it, there's not much that this dude probably doesn't know.
Yeah.
And to still like respect what's going on in the room, even though it's far beneath him. And beyond that, actually still be interested, actually still be like inquisitive, actually still want to know what somebody else's process is, even though he could have easily looked down on the whole thing and been like, you bunch of dumb kids. He wanted to know. He's like, are you doing something I've never thought of? His attitude. And I was really inspired by that. He's just a really cool guy.
Hell yeah. That's cool. I love that. Like, as we mature, we should keep that in our mindset and just always be questioning.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the major, because I've noticed that a few times with a few people that I really respect and look up to, and that was one of the biggest times where it was just really solidified that in my mind, is just never be happy with what you know. Always want to know more and look in both directions, backwards and forwards, because the people underneath your level, they're doing things in a different and new way. They absolutely have to think outside of the box to get anything done, which leads to, a lot more inventiveness than if you just have the money or tools to do it. Even though there's more experience and skill involved when you look upwards. When you look back, I think there's often like a survival instinct there that brings about some very interesting ideas.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's this book called How to Think Like Einstein, and I just remember the main takeaway was when he just started out, that's when he had so many breakthroughs, and then he had like a lull for a while until he kind of had to reinvent himself and think back. So
it's like once you have any kind of notoriety or respect, you don't have to work so hard for it anymore.
Yeah, bare bones sometimes works really well. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, and did you happen to ask Dean Cundy any questions you had, or just you didn't get the opportunity?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
And he also did this whole keynote where he just broke down a bunch of films. He talked about Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Thing and Jurassic Park.
So
and
many good
ones.
Yeah,
he just went through all of his films and the way he approached them and what made them work. It was great. He's great. I love him. He's great.
Wow. Yeah, I can't believe how many of my childhood favorite movies he's done. It's just incredible. So, wow. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. When you look at his IMDb, you're just like, what?
Yeah, no, you didn't do Hook. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm preparing my questions to be very different because he's been interviewed a lot and stuff, and I'm trying to see if I can find something new and interesting that he hasn't answered several times,
Yeah. That's always a tough one.
Yeah. Well, okay. Of course, filmmaking is creative, and in some way or another, I wanted to ask you what creativity means to you. Simply put.
I'm not really sure off the bat how to. I don't know. I guess that's a very subjective question. With what you're going to get a very subjective answer based off the fact that it's a subjective question. But I guess, everything really, if I can't create, if I can't express myself in that way, I think there's, a massive portion of me missing, which is going to lead to just, being unhappy. So for me, it's like, I always say filmmaking is not something that I want to do. It's something that I have to do. I have no choice. I have to do it. I eat, sleep, and breathe it, for the past, I don't even know, 20 plus years for sure. So, for me, it's pretty much everything. I have to be able to express myself in that way, reveal the way that I see the world, or, even create things that distract me from the nonsense of the world, but in the end, distract somebody else once I release it from the nonsense of the world. So, for me, it's, all the things, it's family and then creativity. It's, because you say creativity and that just boils down to everything. It's music, that's photography, that's every aspect of all of those things, of every aspect of filmmaking. So that's how I see it. And, man, I just want to tell stories and, put across my points of views, especially when it comes to features. With short films, it's a lot more about, the moment and the experience and like I said, distracting myself by doing something I love and then distracting somebody else in the end.
Yeah, I love that. it's everything. Makes a lot of sense. And what about your process or routine to get into creative mode, like your best at your peak? Do you have a thing you do? Like, let's say when you're preparing for a film or writing a new film.
I don't think I'm ever out of it.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm sure some people are. I don't know if everybody's that way, but it's like when I say I eat, sleep, and breathe it, I really mean that. It's like, I go to bed thinking of things and coming up with ideas, which makes me, sit up and write something down in my phone at 3 a.m. or whatever. If I'm taking a shower, that's what I'm doing. If I'm driving, that's what I'm doing. Once I'm at work, that's what I'm doing. It's kind of like, everything in between is just me waiting till I can be doing it again, really. The only times I really shut it off and I'm not really thinking about that is when I'm with like my wife and my kids. That's the only thing that kind of trumps this side of life for me.
Yeah.
But if I really need to get into like a mode, a tone, which I think is kind of the heart of your question, maybe, music is definitely something huge. And, you have those, I'm never out of like the creative mode, but sometimes you get like, a rush of inspiration, and that usually comes in ways that you just don't expect. Either a song that you hadn't heard before that just strikes a chord, or a film that you're watching that strikes a chord, or a documentary, something on the news, something you're reading, something in life, a podcast, something someone says in conversation, a new fact you didn't know, and that clicks and you're like, oh my God, that's a movie. Or, oh my God, that's the scene. Oh man, that's the solve to the problem that I've been having trying to break this story or this scene or, this character or whatever. Even psychology, I dig, aspects of psychology and, reading books on that or whatever, or just, how the human mind works, why people do the things that they do. And then you get sort of something there and then, oh, okay, this is great. This works for this character. And, you get a rush of inspiration. But as far as the creative mode, I'm I like it. So I'm always pretty much, I think anyway, in it.
Yeah.
But then you have those heightened moments, which I think is what you mean. Did that answer the question, or
Yes.
did I just ramble?
No, you totally did.
I feel like I just ramble a lot and don't answer questions.
Oh man, yeah. Before I answer a question, I say like 10 sentences about something that apparently isn't relevant, and then I bring it back around. And I think only people that are like dyslexic follow along. So, which a lot of filmmakers are apparently.
I think you're good, because I think like anyone under 40 as a whole is kind of that way. You're either in banking or you're that way.
Yeah. Oh man, but that's why I love filmmaking and directing. I've felt the similar, where every input into me and every impression I have can be used as creativity, and you can apply it to something that you're working on. And that's
beautiful. I mean, that's what it is, right? Like, that's your perspective, that's your voice. You're the sum of all of your experiences, all of your, all the things you've put in. What comes out from all of that, that's your perspective. So it's like, somebody wants a specific singular vision on a film, that's what yours is. It's, again, the sum of your life's parts.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. You mentioned you kind of break out of the mode sometimes when you're with family, to give them the attention. Now, early on, it seems like you're a filmaholic, of course. And how did did they sometimes be like, hey, you got to get out of the filmmaking mode, you're with me? Like, was that ever a problem, and how did you deal with that, if so?
No, I think my wife can get a little bit annoyed with it every now and again. Because even when I'm with them, if we're like driving or whatever, I'm still doing that. I'm still thinking about ideas. Usually, it's not like 100% of the time when I'm with them, I'm not even thinking of ideas, but I'm still present. I'm there. But you can't help your brain but to log like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I like that. Especially with kids, they do so many different and interesting things. It brings like a whole new avenue of life. So you start thinking different differently there, and that brings in all new ideas. But it's just a matter of not inundating them with what's going on in your brain all the time. It's just internalizing it, being present, and all that. And I haven't really had a problem with that so much when I'm there. I do have a problem. It's hard to balance life and work. Be there more, which I'm trying to balance. It's just very difficult, especially when you're running a company, not just doing filmmaking. But when I'm there, I haven't had a problem so much disconnecting because my kids trump filmmaking any day of the week. So it's pretty easy to, slow down and be with those little rugrats. They're awesome. But my wife is super understanding, and she can be very patient with me when I'm rattling off a billion ideas in the car. She's never really had too much of a problem with it. The only thing she's ever had a problem with is when I'm gone so much. For Ballistic, I think I traveled 7 or 8 times in like 3 months, just getting on planes. So she was like, okay.
Okay, yeah.
She's hitting her limit. But other than that, yeah, it's not too bad.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's cool to have family ground you when you need to. I have that problem for sure. Like, I spend a lot of time with my sister, and when I go and visit her at her house, like sometimes if we're not working on something, because sometimes she'll help me with some projects, but I feel, I don't know, like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? I'm not working on anything.
I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm supposed to be working.
Yeah, and she reminds me, like, you gotta not do sometimes, and it's a tough thing.
It's hard to disconnect because you get in such a work mode that it's like vacation. I always say, like, I just took a vacation last year for the first time since my honeymoon, like freaking 7 years ago or something like that. But I always say that it's like, if I have some days off, by the time it's time to get back to work, I just disconnected. Like, I went on vacation for like, I don't know, it's like 6 days or something like that. And I think I finally disconnected on the 4th day. I stopped having that feeling of, I'm supposed to be working. And then I had like 2 days off, really, like mentally. And then it was back to work. So, it's really hard to have that disconnect. But I think, it's like that in any profession, I think, really.
That you love, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything that you have responsibility in, because I remember my dad owned a company, an electrical company, and he's like can relate to me, and he went through the exact same thing. And I remember even him saying that when we were kids. So it's like, if you have any form of responsibility like that on a daily basis, it just gets burnt into you that's what you're supposed to be doing. So disconnecting from that is hard. But then it's funny because then you come back, and it's kind of hard once you hit that disconnect. It's hard to connect back. So it takes a couple days to like get back into the groove of that constant working, because it can be tiring. So it takes a little bit of that like mental stamina.
Yeah, definitely. You got to steer the ship, and you walk away, rely on the assistant captain,
Yeah, totally.
Now, when people say they are not creative, what would you say to them?
I don't think that's true. I don't think any of us are not creative. I mean, if you figure out a different way to get a tire on a car, that's creative. I think there's different ideas of creativity. You have creativity in the arts, and then you have creativity in other ways. I think we're all creative in our own way. My wife, the way she manages and runs our lives is creative in a way that I am not. She finds avenues and fixes for things that I just don't see there. So it's just a different form of it. So I think we're all creative in our own way. But I think there's an artistic side to all of us, because we all have the need to be heard, to express ourselves, and I think through forms of art, every single one of them, be it written or painted or photographed or music or spoken or whatever it is, I think we all have something in there, and I think it's a good outlet for anyone to pick up, even if it's just playing an instrument at home to like wind down. I think it's something to do. So I don't think that's necessarily true. And I really do think anybody could be a filmmaker. Anybody could do what I'm doing, what most people are doing. I mean, you definitely have your like Spielbergs, where it's like there's really only one Spielberg. None of us really knows what made him the robot that he is. But for the rest of us, what makes, like, I mean, I can only not saying that I'm good by any stretch of the imagination, but whatever makes me me is, the 26 years of wanting to do this that came before, and the way that I pushed for it and going several years working 7 days a week, 18 to 20 hours a day, that's what makes me me. So that I think people get discouraged by the fact that, I'm just not creative. And it's like, well, no, but do you have the passion and the willpower to push as hard as you need to be to refine the creativity that is there? Because there's a seed of creativity in all of us, but if you don't water it constantly and intensely, it's not going to grow. You don't wake up skillfully creative. You have to hone that. It's a muscle, and if you don't work that muscle out, you're not going to be able to lift anything.
Very true. I agree. That's very good. Yeah, creativity is amazing. Now, back when you were starting out in the film business, I heard that you sent out like 200 emails or something, and one of the companies got back to you, Alienware.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yep.
So many of us send out 10 emails and say, no one's hiring me. How did you crack down and commit to so many emails and not get distracted or turned off?
Just passion, man, drive. I was working 3 jobs. I was working construction, and it was not anything I really wanted to be doing. And I didn't mind it. I don't mind manual labor. I kind of like it, especially when you can just pop in like a podcast or, some some music. At the time I was listening to like Dane Cook's albums and just laughing while doing my work. So it's like, I didn't mind it. Or, you play soundtracks and you come up with ideas and stuff. So, that stuff was fine by me. I didn't like hate life or anything, but I wasn't making film and I wasn't headed in that direction. Which was really starting to get me depressed, that it's like I wasn't seeing a path. So, I just worked my ass off and raised money and got as much gear together as I possibly could, and then just started doing things for free. Just anything I could possibly do, I did for free. This actress wanted to do a couple of scenes to build out a reel to make it look like she'd done a few short films, but I just turned them into short films. They're absolutely terrible. But I did that for free. Or maybe, actually, no, I think she did pay me and I used it to buy a small light kit, actually. I would do local commercials. I'd do them for free. I would do music videos for local bands. I would go and film, their shows, anything that I could do, get friends together and shoot just like a little 30-second scene. Like this killer walks into a room where he has somebody tied up and he delivers some dialogue, and it's all about messing around with lighting and style and coverage to figure out how to convey an idea. And by doing all this, I was able to put together a reel that made it look like what the actress was trying to do. Actually, same thing, made it look like I did all these projects, all these paid projects. And I was like, hey, I actually have a reel here.
Yeah.
Well, which gave me the idea of I need to, because then somebody else I knew was doing a job at this, like, it's basically a company that just did infomercials. And I was like, well, at least, you get to work with gear. So let me go try that. And I went and I did it for 2 days, and they wanted to hire me as a camera operator, or which ends up being kind of like you're a cameraman, which means you're lighting the scene too. But it was soul deadening. I was just like, man, I think this is going to give me so many bad habits, and it's taking something I love and making it gross. It's infomercials, which it's fine. Like, if you do infomercials, I'm not demonizing that. It's just, for me, it just felt like, I don't know. It was especially just the company itself. It wasn't necessarily just the work. It was sort of the people there. Everything about it just felt wrong. It felt like the wrong thing to do. And that really frustrated me, because I thought this would be a good thing, because at least I could get my hands on gear and be using the gear day in and day out, even though it's nowhere near what I want to be doing. But then, I just decided, this would be a bad decision. So I went back to all the other stuff, and I just got frustrated. So then I just went online and I found every possible production company I could find, within a 4-hour radius, and even out of state, just anything I could find that seemed like it would be within reason. You know what I mean? I wasn't emailing Warner Brothers. I was emailing stuff that is like, this could potentially be a thing. And I sent my reel and my resume, and wait, it took a while. I was my girlfriend, now wife, worked at Starbucks at the time, so I would just go to Starbucks, drink free coffee and email for like, I don't even know how many nights it took me. And then, I heard nothing for the longest time. And then finally Alienware got back to me, which is funny because the way that they got back to me was through one of the production companies that I emailed. They worked with Alienware whenever Alienware needed some stuff. But, the folks at Alienware were asking them like, hey, we need somebody who can do a little bit of everything from pre to post production. Do you know anyone? And they were like, hey, funny enough, we just got this email. They passed that off to them. And it worked out.
So glad you didn't stick to the infomercial world.
Yeah, yeah, that wouldn't have lasted long either
That's
way.
actually, that'd be a good short film where like you're just this deadening person doing infomercials, and you're like, it's very dark and just like everything's crazy. Your hair is growing out. And just
yeah, totally.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't think I would have survived long inside of that world.
Yeah. If someone was graduating high school and they told you they wanted to join the film world, what direction would you steer them?
Make stuff. I say it all the time, and I want to shout it from mountaintops. So there's like this big disconnect now, I think, from what it was pre-YouTube and things being easier. Like it's so much easier now, and sometimes I say, I wish I had these things when I was X years old, whatever, 17, 15, 13. But I don't know if I do. I think, I'm glad I had the restrictions that I had, because it forces you that, if you really want to do this, you're going to have to work hard for it. And if you work hard for something, it means way more to you and you respect it a lot more. Not saying that people don't, it mean a lot to them or respect them more. I'm not really sure what it is. Or maybe you just have such like a higher sampling of people that it's just, you have to wade through the people who don't really want to do it. They just like it, to find the people who really, really, really need to do it. But like back then I made things just because I couldn't help myself. I had to make things. I had to create. I had to make another short film. And the only people that watched it were my family. But it didn't matter. Sometimes I didn't even show them. It was just, I was making it because I had to, and I would spend days making one thing and then not show anybody but maybe my dad, and he would laugh, and that would make me happy, and I'd go off and I'd make the next one. But now you have YouTube and everything's about views and subscribers and, hey, how do I get more views on my stuff? And how did you get so many subscribers? And I just want to like shake them and be like, stop caring. You can't is the answer.
Do it for yourself.
You can roll the dice. Yeah, you can roll the dice and hope and maybe, or you can step back and put stuff online. That's fine. That's great. Get audience feedback for whoever does watch it. If it's 10 people, that's wonderful. See what those 10 people thought of it and learn from it. I think because of how people see this stuff, like, this guy did this short film and now he's making this feature, I can do that too. Well, you're not seeing behind the scenes of the 20 plus years that he put in to get to that point. So, for someone, especially like as young as high school, middle school, whatever it is, it's, make things, make a ton of things, and without needing something in return. Make it because you love it, because you have to, because you're so passionate that you can't help yourself, not because you want to, but you have to be creating, or there's going to be something missing in you. Do it because of that. You keep doing that, and then you'll just keep learning from them one after the other, and you'll start figuring out, oh, this is why this looks cinematic versus this. And now, I mean, that's a comment more based for me when I was young. Now you can actually go online and find things that'll show you why this versus this. But there is a difference between knowledge and understanding. You can know something, but that doesn't mean you understand it. And that's proven true for me on every project that I do. I gained understanding from this latest short film, Ballistic, because of the experience that I built, and light switches started turning on. Oh, I get it now. I knew it, but now I understand it, and I can do it again because I understand why it works, how it works, and why it'll work again and in what situation. So there's a difference between knowing and understanding, and you can't get the understanding without experience. So even if you're watching stuff like Film Riot or the Corridor Digital guys put out, or MZ or Masterclass, whatever it is, that's great, because that's giving you a foundation of knowledge, which is what film school did for me. But film school didn't give me a ton of understanding because it was so quick. There wasn't a lot of experience to gather. So once you have the knowledge, then you go out and you start using that. You put it to practice, And you start building that experience, and the experience will end up leading to understanding, and that understanding will end up leading to really skillful work. And once you have that skillful work, then you're offering people something, you're giving them something, and they're going to reciprocate by giving you a view, a follow. And then eventually that might turn into someone recognizing, your voice, your perspective as a storyteller. And then maybe they'll, want you to make something larger with them. They'll want to tap into your talent and jump aboard the train that is you as a filmmaker. But the number one thing is, don't want anything other than to create and get better with each and every one. Put your head down and do the work. Do the work for years and years and years. Make 1,000 things that are just mediocre at best. And then your 1,001 all of a sudden is going to be, hey, look at that. That's actually pretty solid. And I say this coming from, that's my experience, and that's the experience of everybody I know. I mean, that's one thing that I think is just true. I mean, there's tons of paths to take, but I haven't seen any paths that get around that one. That one, stair to climb, which is, experience. You have to build that. You have to put in the hours. That whole 10,000 hour idea, I think it's, that's an arbitrary number that's going to shift per person, but the idea is the same. You really got to put in the work and build that experience.
Yes. Well put. It's right on point. It's so true. Now thinking back, what was your very first short story or something you wrote and filmed? Like the earliest you remember? It could be the simplest thing. I'm just curious.
I don't even know. I started making like shorts when I was around like 8-ish years old. So nice. I don't even know, honestly. There was like, I would, because no one would make stuff with me. So I would just prop the camera up on like a dresser or something, hit record and sort of do like sketches, like a little variety show almost, almost like plays that I could record. And then after a little while, I started realizing like, oh, if I put the camera in a different perspective, you're going to see it in a different way. And then if I put this closer to the camera, it's going to look bigger. And, I started figuring things out slowly but surely. But I remember doing a bunch of ghost story type stuff. I remember one where there was just a ghost in the house. Someone had died in the house before the people that lived there, and like the faucet would just keep turning on and the lights would turn off, and really stupid stuff. And then they ended up seeing the ghost, which I did by doing like this overlay, which I don't even remember how I did.
I could see that.
Oh man, me too. I think it's probably gone forever. But I did some kind of ghost overlay. I don't even remember how I did it, but I remember there was like I showed a floating ghost, but there was I didn't have a computer. I didn't have
You had like a tissue
software.
in front of the lens and
maybe. I remember how I did it, but they see a ghost and it just obviously it looked dreadful. Awesome. And then they just run out of the house, and I remember it was raining and I got a bunch of the rain on camera and I was like, "Oh, this looks so much like a movie." And then I did like a spy one, but it was all with my little brothers and sisters because they were the only ones that had enough patience to let me do it. So they're like 4 and 6 or whatever, and being like action heroes and stuff. And then I got like firecrackers, and I took the gunpowder out of the firecracker, and I created like this. This was a little later on. I think I was like 12 for this one. But I created like a line that I could light, and it would do the whole Mission Impossible thing because I saw Mission Impossible not long before that. The show, I think that was pre the movie. And then I made it like it was like this air bomb that when it went off, it exploded air. So people were like flying away, and it was just ridiculous. So it was a lot of stuff like that, like a lot of moments and trying to replicate things that I had seen. And then I was in a youth group a little later on in life, and then I had a bit of an audience there where they just let me make videos, which, I mean, thinking back, I'm like, man, they didn't yell at me for a lot of the things that I did. Like I did a lot of stuff that probably shouldn't have been in a youth group. Knowing Film Riot, you can guess the type of stuff that was. But they never really stopped me from any of it. I think the only time I got in trouble was when I showed somebody in their underwear, and they got mad about that. But that was the only one. But I was able to do a lot of stuff there too, which was really fun. They would do like weekly announcements or whatever, so I would do videos that led into the announcement. So it just gave me a way to like have a live audience and just make stuff and hear their reaction and feel their reaction, and that was a huge educator for me as well. Because I had already been doing stuff for like 5 years at that point. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't have anybody to show. But now I had an audience. So I was, showing them these things on a weekly basis, or, it wasn't always weekly. And getting that sort of feedback. Because, once you've made something and then you show it to somebody for the first time, when you watch it with them, you see it in a whole new way.
Yeah.
You're seeing flaws in a new way. You're feeling it the way they're probably feeling it in a whole new way. It's a very interesting phenomenon that happens. So that was a huge educator for me as well. I totally went on a tangent that wasn't exactly the question that you asked, but I think I answered it in the beginning.
No, yeah, that's cool. I love that the different perspective when someone watches your work. I often still do this, but definitely early on, like if I'd be nervous to show things, but I would I would watch them, most of the time, just like look at their reactions.
There's definitely parts where you look over to see how they're vibing on it, but for the most part I kind of just watch it, because the stuff that seemed okay, now that I'm watching it with them, I'm like, ugh, this is so slow.
Yeah.
So I'm able to feel it a lot differently, and then the parts where I'm vibing on it, even though they're there, I'm like, yeah, this is working.
Definitely, yeah. I love that. Oh man, it's fun to look back and see what did I first do with the camera. I did a lot of skateboarding, and I would film some of that back then. But I remember the first kind of editing I felt like I was doing in a movie sense was I followed a tennis ball around, and I would make it enter the scene. I'd roll in, and then I'd stop the camera, and then I'd make it roll back, somewhere else and stop. And it was amazing. Oh, this looks fluid, and that was one of my points. I was like, damn.
How old are you?
I'm 32 now.
Okay, so you're not far off from me.
Yeah.
How old were you when you were doing that?
I'd probably 12 or 11 or 12, I think.
So were you doing the VCR to VCR thing?
Yeah, I did that sometimes, but actually, I did a lot of the times I didn't have that early on, and then
just stop
exactly,
editing.
Yeah, that is it'd be a fun little test for me to do that now with my phone.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be great. It's just oh man,
that could be a Ryan. That could be a contest. That'd be awesome.
I know, that would be great. And it was so funny how you would you would hear the last second of you saying action, and
and you're like, damn it, I should have cut it before.
Or they would start too early and it would cut in while they're already talking, or they would be sitting there waiting and then realize and then start going.
Oh,
so bad.
Yeah,
I used the VCR to VCR a lot to get music into the shorts too. That was really helpful.
Yeah, I would play the music loud in the background, like a music video.
Oh, okay. What I would do is I would go and I would listen to the song that I plan to use, and I would listen to it just over and over and over again, thinking about what I'm about to shoot, and try to get a tempo in my head. And then I would go out there and do the stop-start editing, and shoot the whole thing, then take that into VCR and just play the music in. Because if you're editing VCR to VCR, you can't really do the music unless you do a third pass, but then it starts getting so gross, the image.
Yeah.
So I would do the start-stop editing with that when I wanted to do music, and then just play it in, and it would usually match up pretty well.
Cool.
I even did that when I was doing the youth group videos in the beginning, because I didn't really have editing software still, so I was still doing that stop-start editing. And I would just play the song I wanted to be for it in the through the sound system at the church, and it worked pretty well. We did a couple of very unsafe things that way. We put somebody standing in the middle and two cars driving past him, but he just was right in the middle of the cars, and they came really close, and one was a pickup truck, and I was sitting in the back filming it, so we passed right by him. You see the two cars pass between him, and now I was like, man, that was really stupid. Why'd we do that?
Oh man. Looking back.
So don't do that. Don't copy me.
What triggered me, and I haven't made a feature film yet. I've written 4, but just
nice.
I'm working on 2 that I want to shoot. The other ones were really just practice and just no budget in mind at all. Just But when I was young, I was inspired pretty early. My dad's an actor, and I watched some of the movies he was in, and I remember I was watching a Scorsese film called Casino, which I'm sure you know. And I was really young, and I remember that was when I'm like, I'm going to make a movie. and it's going to be called Poison Dice, which is like a ridiculous title. Because Joe Pesci on the movie poster, he's holding like dice, and that movie has this like evil thing to it here and there, especially as a kid, killing everyone in the end and everything. But what did it for you? What triggered you? Was it just all those things combined, or was there something that said, I need to make a film? Like, what did you see? What happened?
It was my dad brought home the camera. I just like to entertain. I did the whole like plays for your family in the living room thing. And then my dad brought home the camera, and it always frustrated me because people couldn't, it's like, they're not laughing. I was like, well, you're not laughing because you're not seeing it how I'm seeing it. And I talk about it all the time because I just think it's interesting. I remember when my dad brought home the camera, and then I was just like, it kind of clicked that, it's like, I can make you see what I see. And that became a really fascinating thing, but I was way too young to have the idea of like, I'm going to be a director, because it wasn't like, now it's all over the place. So now I could see like an 8-year-old thinking that, because, there's explanations of what that is, and, it makes it glamorous and whatnot. But back then, there wasn't anything that's going to tell you that. It's just like movies. So it's like, the idea that I can make a movie never entered my head at, like 8 years old. So, I just made like sketches and whatnot and replicated the movies that I loved for a while. And then it's why I love Jurassic Park so much. Jurassic Park happened and gave me such a huge reaction that it was like this thing that could make me feel so unsafe in a safe place. And it is the first time I cared so deeply for what happened to the characters that were on screen, that I didn't want anything bad to happen to these like fake people. They weren't real. I'm old enough to know they're not real. I was 11, and I remember even at 11 going home thinking like, I know none of that is real. Why do I feel this way? This is crazy. Wow. And it just blew my mind, especially that it was like dinosaurs aren't real, but there they are. So this just like insane magic trick and roller coaster ride and experience that I was given, it just blew my mind. So I had to find out, who gave this experience, who is this Spielberg guy? And then, I realized that Steven Spielberg was a director, and he's the one that made it all, because my mom bought me all these books and magazines from like Jurassic Park, and I read everything I possibly could about the making of and how it all went down. And and then just realized like, that's what I want to be, Steven Spielberg. That's it. I want to do for someone else what he did for me. And that's really like the reason Jurassic Park is such a big thing for me, because that was really like the very specific, I want to be a director and give people the experiences that this just gave me moment that I had.
Damn. Yeah. Caring for the characters is a big deal. And that's, I think, every great movie, they make that happen. And I love that. I have some questions about on-set.
Sure.
From what I've seen with BTS of a lot of your shorts, when you're running a set, your cast and crew, they're really comfortable, and there's kind of this family fun atmosphere on set. And I want to know, how do you prepare for that ahead of time to ensure smooth attitudes?
It's, that's a hard thing to prepare for. There's definitely a lot of dice rolling that's happening, but I try to get as many recommendations as possible for people. So, people are vouching for others that I like to work with, and they know the type of person I like to work with. And they're like, hey, I work with this guy and he's great, super cool on set, great attitude, really hard worker. So I try to do that as much as possible. And outside of that, just been lucky. I think, you run across douchebags way less than you do nice people. At least in my experience, there's a whole lot more people who, if you're working in an indie film level on a very low budget, you're not going to find a lot of people that are just there to punch a time clock and make money. You're finding people that are passionate about doing it and love it, and have a great work ethic and want to be there. So that definitely helps for sure. And then after that, it's just a matter of, everything trickles down. If I have an attitude, if I'm in a bad mood, if I'm stressed, if I'm, painted in the balls to work with, then it's just going to trickle down. Everybody's going to be that way. It just creates a bad atmosphere. But, me and, my producers, everybody, the DP, I'm always friends with, we set that atmosphere of, when it's time to be serious, sure, it's time to be serious. But, we joke around a lot and we have a lot of fun, because it's like, we get to do this. You know, we're here right now and we get to do this. There's so many people that, wish they were here. And when I'm not there, I'm wishing I'm there. And right now we get to be here. And just creating that atmosphere of like, we're all just thankful that we get to be there doing it. And together that, it's a pretty easy thing I found to keep up with. And then, making sure everybody gets the respect that they deserve, from crafty to director. Nobody should be treated differently, and I make that very well known. I think anything otherwise is just nonsense, and it makes me angry because, everybody there, no matter what your job is important to the film and the reason that the film is happening to begin with. So, creating that atmosphere and then making sure everybody knows how appreciated they are, because I really do appreciate every single person that's there. It's like, you're there helping me make this. Like, thank you. And because, in the end, if it's good, who's getting all the credit? Like, the director, the DP, maybe the editor. There's a handful of people that are really getting the praise for it being good. But there's so many more people that actually made that happen, and they don't get that recognition, which is a real bummer. So, it makes me appreciate them 1,000 times more that, it feels like to me there is, somewhat of a selflessness there, that they're there to help me get, quote unquote, my vision on the screen. And that's like a really beautiful thing to me. So I always try to make sure everybody feels appreciated as much as it gets stressful. You're moving 1,000 miles an hour for sure, especially with ballistic. We needed like 10 more hours in every single day. So, it gets, hard to do, but, I try to do it as much as I can. And it seems to help create an atmosphere where we're all having a good time and happy to be there.
Yeah. Do you do anything ridiculously awesome to make people feel appreciative on set?
Feed them well.
Yes.
I try as much as possible to not skimp on the food budget.
No pizza, no tacos.
No pizza, no tacos. Well, if it's good pizza.
Good taco. Okay, yes. Okay, no.
And good tacos.
Yeah.
Yes. No Taco Bell, no Pizza Hut. And in Ballistic, we had really good food. I was very happy about that. On Bloodtober, we had really good food. When I shot Sentinel, we just had sandwiches from Kroger, because I literally shot it for sandwiches from Kroger. That's it. We had no money on that. It was just me and like 3 other guys that went out and were like, hey, let's go make something cool. So that's a different scenario. But when I have a full crew, I try to make sure that, they're fed really well, because I think that's one of the number one ways to say, I appreciate you being here and I respect that you're here. Like, feed them well. If you have to skip somewhere on the budget, don't make it the food. Give them their break where they get to have good food, recharge. That always seems to help a lot. And then, just always please, thank you. Telling people they did a great job greeting. I try to greet and meet everybody. In Ballistic, we had like 85 people on set one day, so wasn't really possible to do. But with smaller crews, I try to go around and shake everyone's hand and thank them for being there. I think just even little stuff like that goes a long way. Just don't act like Mr. Director. Don't act, don't be a douchebag. You're not important. The fact that they're all there for you, they're doing you the favor. It's amazing
they're
that
your
they're
customers
there doing this.
in a way.
Right. It's amazing that they're there doing this for you, helping you, supporting you. So the way that I've seen some people act on their little director's chair, a little snooty, nose up in the air, I just don't understand it. I don't get it. It's ridiculous. So, it's just that stuff, I think, goes a long way.
Yeah. Now, having said that, have you ever flipped out on set and how'd you deal with it? Oh,
never.
That's awesome. That's great.
Never. Never. No, never. And I never will, hopefully. I'm not that type of person, so that I luck out that way. I'm a pretty calm person. Definitely there's been times where I wanted to, raise my voice and be like, what's happening here? Move your ass. But you can't do that. So it's, I internalize it, and when I'm freaking out, I don't let anybody see it. Because a lot of the times it's just the stress of filmmaking. Nobody's doing, if somebody's doing something they shouldn't, I'll take them aside and talk to them like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the problem. Or one of my producers will, whatever. But, you do it with kindness and love. And if they keep doing it, then it's a problem that just needs to be solved. Like, hey man, if you don't want to be here, I understand, but we need to figure this out now and replace you if that's something that needs to happen. That's fine. If somebody's not doing their job right and they're neglecting the whole thing, that's bad for everybody, and you handle that, but you handle that in private. You don't yell at somebody in front of everyone. And then, when I'm just stressing out because I need 4 more hours, literally, and we have 1, literally, I don't let anybody see that as much as I possibly can. I try to keep my attitude optimistic, and I panic on the inside, and I come up with a plan on the inside and just keep moving forward, because that's all you can do. You just put one foot in front of the other. What is freaking out, being in a bad mood, stressing, raising my voice? How is that going to help anything?
Yeah.
You can get the set moving fast without that. I just try to be in the middle of what's going on all the time. I pretty much never sit down. Because if they see me standing and in the middle of the room, then why are they sitting down? I've noticed that helps out a lot. So I'm always doing something, always working as well. But yeah, no, I never have. I haven't really had anybody freak out on one of my sets either. I've had like some attitudes flare, but you just, again, take it aside.
Yeah.
Take a second. Or, there's been times where I saw one coming, like an attitude starting to raise. So then, I just kind of cleared the area and then, pumped the brakes a little bit and then it was fine.
Yeah, that's good to be able to catch it before it happens and just try to not cater to it, but just see it at a different perspective and see if you can help them out.
Sure. Especially when you have something like an actor, which I've looked out with like really kind, generous, wonderful actors that I've had 0 problems with on set. But you're asking them to do something pretty difficult, and it can get pretty frustrating, especially if somebody else is not doing their job and, they're giving a lot emotionally and it was wrecked because of something that somebody could have been doing that they weren't doing, or somebody's in their eye line and they're getting frustrated because they're trying to hit the certain level of emotion, but they feel like they're not doing it. So they feel like they're letting not just the director, but everyone down, because if they're not hitting that, if they're not nailing this, it's hurting everybody, because the project's not going to be as good, and they feel like that's on them. And so it's a pretty high pressure job, and one that's in front of literally everyone, where you're feeling judged every single second. So I definitely understand their issues, and the fact that they don't freak out. So far, any of my actors haven't freaked out is like, good for you. But they can get frustrated at times, and it's totally understandable. But I've never had sort of a douchebag moment with any of my actors. They've all been really, really wonderful. But with them, understanding that has helped, I think, because if I ever see them starting to get a little frustrated, I'll find a way to give them a break. We're good here, let's move on to this for now. Why don't you take 5 and not make it feel like this is happening because of them. Just make them feel like I'm moving on, and then I'll pick that back up later. Because then if you make it feel like, hey, you know what, you need a break, go take a break, now that's embarrassing in front of everybody that they can't do their job, So little things like that to try to make sure you're keeping a nice baseline on set, and whenever you see things shifting from one end to the other, that's a big part of your job, is to navigate that stuff, I think, within reason. Sometimes you just can't, you got to push through, and you do as much as you possibly can to like keep that. Or sometimes you just want it tense. There's been a few times where I've allowed like a certain like tense feeling on set, because that helps the scene. The scene is very tense, and you want everybody a little bit on edge. So I've let that happen, and I'm not being a douchebag, but just my general attitude is very quick, short. Let's go. That type of stuff.
That's cool.
Very like drill sergeant-y, but without being like, hey, move your ass. It's more like, all right, let's go. We're going again. You talk faster, you talk louder. And it seems to work. It creates like a little bit of a tension on set, but we're still having fun. And then the second you're done with that section, back to fun. So, you have to create the atmosphere that you need for the scene, without it being an unkind one.
Yeah. And I think, for sure, having come up with doing everything you can do in every department, you understand how important each one is, and That's
Yeah,
great.
that's been massively helpful, and something that I've told a lot of people that you should know what every aspect is like, and especially if you want to be a director, you should take acting classes. You should be in front of the camera, know what that feels like. That's definitely been, I mean, not something that I did consciously to start. It's it was out of necessity for sure, but now I'm so happy I did it because it's just really helpful to A, direct them, and B, empathize with their situation as well.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of all of that, like filming, you've been through so many awesome shoots, and what have you found like to be the biggest waste of actual time that maybe people out there just starting should avoid, or people that are already doing it might want to consider?
Standing around, being on your phone, more of the obvious things. Eat into a lot of time, not having hustle, trying to get everybody into a hustle. With short films, it's hard because you have the first few days and it's sort of building the trust, the respect, the atmosphere. So it ends up being a little slow goings at first because everybody's getting their footings, everybody's figuring things out. And then if you do your job right by day 3, things are really starting to move and cook and gel. But the problem is with a short film, that's usually the last or second to last day of the entire shoot. So that can be very difficult. We shot twice. We shot in LA and we shot in Texas. And when we shot in LA, we shot for 4 days. When we shot in Texas, we shot for 3 days. So as soon as everything was really starting to gel and we're really getting our legs underneath us and starting to move together as a unit and quick, and everybody's understanding me and how I work, and I'm understanding them and how they work because everybody's different. The shoot's over. So it's, it can be difficult with a short film. But just knowing what you want going in is huge. Not spending a ton of time, well, let's try this, having a very clear and defined vision and idea, and especially with your DP, because that's definitely one thing that's going to take up a lot of time is just setting the scene and the lighting. So you two being on the same page and him or her having a game plan going in is really huge and will definitely be a massive time saver.
Yeah. Oh, good. Definitely. And now, can we move to like larger projects? Let's talk about like pitching larger projects. Have you come across like a process that you've felt is working for you when you've pitched some larger projects? Any quick tips?
I mean, I've pitched larger projects and for studios, but I haven't had one yet. So I definitely don't claim to have it all together with that. I'm still trying to figure it out. But really, from what I've been able to gather when I do it, is they just want a sense of who you are, what you're trying to make, confidence that you're not going in there super timid. If they ask you to be there, it's because they think you're talented. So go in and, be you, and they're feeling you out just as much as you're feeling them out. And one thing that someone told me is, you're making this thing either way. Go in there with that idea. Like, you have this idea and you're making this either way. Do they want to jump on board with you or not? But either way, this thing is getting made. I think it's Stu Mashowitz who told Seth Worley, you're the train, not them. So people go in there nervous thinking that they're the train, that, I really want to get on board that train. And you just have to have the mindset that, no, you're the train and you're moving no matter what. Do they want to get on board or not? You're the one with the vision and the talent, but you also can't let that make you arrogant or egotistical, but let that give you, confidence and the worth to go in there and just be normal, be a normal person with your ideas. And hey, here's what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. And that really helped me a lot. And currently I'm just making treatments, presentations, PDFs that really break down what it is I'm wanting to make, with a title page that very much it could be the poster of the film. It lays in the tone. This is what I'm looking to make, instead of it just being on white pages, creating something that gives the mood quickly without even having to read a word. What genre it is, you get the overall sense, the tone. I'm layering in maybe some playlists. There's a bit of the Well, I don't want to go that far because I was giving away too much. But yeah, creating like little presentations that I can hand off, and without even saying anything, you just get it. So finding ways to not necessarily. I don't think of in terms of, oh, I need to stand out, because I think that might lead to more gimmicky things. I'm really just going about my treatments right now with the mindset of, how can I get you to completely understand what it is I'm wanting to make without us even seeing each other face to face? And then I'm going about treatments that way. But will that work? I have no idea.
It sounds good. It sounds like a great plan. Yeah, just visually.
I'm excited about it. I really like it. I'm not the first one to do it this way, certainly. But that's a new avenue that I'm taking. Whereas before, it's been all verbal pitches. And whatnot, just getting in the room and giving a pitch to someone face to face. With this, this will be more, I can send it ahead of time and then have a meeting about it. So we'll see. I have no idea. That's definitely an avenue that I'm still navigating and trying to figure out. And I mean, each person you pitch to is totally different than the last person. How much they care or not is different. If they know who you are or not, it changes. If they care or not changes. And how they like to hear ideas, what their taste in ideas, it's all different. So, that for me, that's not anything that I feel like I have a grip on yet. I don't know if I ever will. It's just, you do the best you can. But hey, when I get a feature, we'll talk again.
Hell yeah.
Maybe I'll have a better idea.
I'm definitely looking forward to watching your feature. It'll be your first, right? Or have you done? Oh, that's gonna be great. Whatever.
Yeah, it'll be my first.
It's gonna be exciting. It's definitely exciting to just be doing pitches and having stuff to pitch and trying to figure it out. It's a different art for sure.
For sure, and so scary.
Yes, it's definitely scary. I actually want to see what you think, but I do some commercial pitches just for commercials for new companies and stuff, and even current companies as some clients. And I just did something different this time. Me and my creative producer, she's a great graphic designer, and I was like, okay, I finished the budget proposal. But what if you put some like really cool graphics on it that doesn't make it say like, oh, this is a lot of money. It makes it say like, oh, this is fun and this is going to get me more clients. This is going to get me more of this. So she came up with some really cool designs, and we just slapped one in the top and then one at the bottom. And we're waiting to hear back, but it was kind of an experiment because like why if we're in the creative field, why not give a creative type budget, a visual. And
I think all that stuff is great because, I mean, it not only I think it just gives a tone of what you're trying to pull off. I think it helps you stand out without it being gimmicky, and it maybe puts minds at ease on like, if it looks really good, that creates I'm blanking on the word, but it makes them like trust you more.
You put in extra time for everything. Like, as long as they see you do the work and you're putting extra time, as long as they like the idea, there's a good chance.
And if they like the layout, if they like what they're seeing, it just gives an extra bit of confidence because, a bit of paperwork doesn't really give as much confidence as like the art behind it all.
Yeah. And my question to you is, so we submitted the budget proposal. And it's kind of like a larger budget proposal, considering that it's their first video they would ever be making. We put like a full crew that we think we would need. We put fair budget rates. But my question is, they love the idea. They said they're going to get back to us this week. So they laughed out loud to the idea. But now we gave them the budget proposal. So if they get back to us and they're like, this budget's out of our range, and then they're trying to, and maybe I find out their range is like half. How can I like explain to them like, we can do that? Okay, no problem. We can meet your range, but how do I do that without like devaluing our service and make sure they know it's not easy for us to just cut our budget in half to do it? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you really want to work with them, it's a matter of, all right, the way that I've handled it in the past is, okay, let me know what your budget is, and I really want to work with you, and I'm going to see if I can make this happen. Obviously, we don't want to make the quality any lesser, but if we take off this or that, or if we change the way that we're doing this, I could bring it back down to more of a guerrilla team, less of a massive crew. So it's going to take us a little longer. If you'll be a little flexible with us on the schedule, we can be flexible with you on the budget. If we have a little more time, we can make this work in between other gigs. Whatever it is, to make sure you're not being like, okay, we're going to give you the exact same thing for the exact same dollar amount, because that's also setting a precedence you don't want to set, because when they come back, they're going to want that same sort of thing. And then making it very clear, like, this is not something we usually do. It's not something that we can continue to do, of course, but we really want to work with you guys. So we're willing for this, this first go to dip our foot in the water with you guys and make it work.
Wow, that was well put. Thank you. I'm going to definitely re-listen to some good points in there that I think expressing to them will definitely help. And hopefully they just say yes. Like, I mean, we acted as if, like, this is what we need, which it is. So we'll have to just kind of wait. But,
yeah. I mean, you definitely don't want to set, like I said, that precedence of, okay, we'll do it for less.
Yeah.
You have to, okay, we'll find ways to make it work. What's your budget? Can you be flexible with the schedule? That'll make it easier for us to make it, whatever. And we can get rid of some crew. And if we shift some things around here and there, so just, you just want to make sure you're not making them think that you could just easily do it for stuff that you should not be doing it for.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. All right. Hey, let's move into your Triune store. You've been running that for a while, and could you let us know a little bit about what it offers and the challenges of starting it, running it, keeping it up to date, expanding it?
Sure. I mean, the whole idea behind it was to try to get certain things that I wanted out there that wasn't really out there in any kind of affordable way. And more stuff has come out since then that's similar. That's a little more affordable, which is nice. But that's really the whole model behind our store, is just creating assets for filmmakers that are of quality, but not the type of cost that you would get elsewhere. And, sometimes people complain about what the music costs or what the sound effects costs. And I'm just like, yeah, but look at what it costs elsewhere. And also, these are like blanket license. You could use it in $1 million feature the same way you could use it in a $2 YouTube video, there's no clearance that you have to get. They're just yours to use now. And, that's some red tape that we wanted to get rid of for people as well, because that stuff can be a little bit tricky. Is also when you're licensing stuff, it's like once you bought it, it's licensed to you to use. I mean, you can't, send that license to someone else, but, it's licensed to you to use for however much you want to use, whenever you want to use it, for whatever project you want to use it on.
That's great.
So we really wanted to create that for, filmmakers. And then, we're getting a little more into the educational realm, creating more longer format stuff that it's hard to do with Film Riot because there's no budget behind it. So it's really hard to do that stuff. And, like we have the Writing 101 and 201 with Seth Worley up, and we're going to be doing more of those this year for sure. We got some more packs coming out with the short film Ballistic. We're trying to do a really cool pack with, like, we sell some of our films, but what we're really selling is like the special features. And that's what this will be. And this will have a lot of cool stuff on there, which we try to pack full of stuff that I would want to know if I wasn't involved. And that stuff is, I think, really useful for new filmmakers, but also helps us sort of try to recoup money that we spent to make the short films, because they're all passion projects. I'm losing money on all of them, but also hopefully it helps us get a little budget together to do the next thing, or to make Film Riot better. Or so the store is twofold. It's a way for us to try to get some budget in place to make what we do better and do more projects so we can put more stuff up. Just a place where we can be making assets and helping filmmakers. Because, even the artists that are involved, I want to be helping them and, help them, make a paycheck as well. So it's kind of just universal in that way, I suppose. But yeah, we got a lot more stuff coming out, and we're definitely going to be growing that. It's everything, because of how small of a company we are. Everything that we do takes up a lot of time. So it's kind of hard to juggle all of it to go part of, your question. But we are expanding it. We're going to redo the website this year to make that a little bit better. We got a lot more products coming out this year, which I'm really excited about, and we're just going to keep growing it and growing it and growing it, and hopefully eventually it just becomes this central hub for all things filmmaking that, if you're looking for anything, you just can go there. Because even if we're not selling it, I want to be at a place where you can go and you can find it, and we could just point to where you can buy it.
Hell yeah.
Have a page for like all the plugins that you'd want to, that way, because there's stuff everywhere. So if it could just be even part store, part curation, because I mean that's the general idea. It's like, sure, we want to make money, but I'm not trying to get rich here. I'm trying to make cool stuff that we could put out, and trying to help. So if it's part store and part curating other great stuff like Red Giant's gear and those AE plugins, AE scripts I think it's called, or whatever it is. Other assets that are similar to ours, but, a little bit different, and you might like those better. Just having a place where you can find everything that's just helpful for filmmakers. That's really the hope.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff you're providing, and I think filmmakers out there, creatives, entertainment industry people need to consider having some multiple streams of income so they can support their passion projects and their other endeavors.
Yeah,
and
you have to
get a cushion, and that could be creative in itself. It doesn't have to be non-creative. I mean, like everything can be creative, like we were saying.
Yeah,
That's
for
great.
sure. You have to have a lot of avenues. It's like my dad always taught me, he's like, you throw enough stuff at the wall, something sticks. And the other thing he always said is, you don't want one leg on the stool. You're not going to sit upright for very long. You need as many legs on that stool as possible. And I've lived by that for sure. We do stuff even behind the scenes that people don't know about to make sure that there's security there and we can keep doing what we're doing. Because it's like, Film Riot's not keeping the lights on. It's everything as a whole that we do. Because Film Riot's a passion project just as much as my short films are. So it's finding ways to do, work hard and make everything come together and make it all possible.
Definitely, man. That's great. And I want to ask you about all this Film Riot and the Triune Store and every passion project you've done. Looking back, or even now, like, can you share how you prevent from burning yourself out? Because I mean, you have a lot of stuff going on. How do you zoom out of it all when you're overwhelmed?
I've only done that once, and I took a vacation. My brain broke, and it was like, all right, and I just booked a vacation. It was like I think I already said in this podcast, it was like my first vacation since my honeymoon, which was, I think, 7 years, almost 7 years.
Okay.
And I finally just hit a wall. But I don't think I burnt out because I felt similarly not long after. And I think what it was I hadn't made a short film in a while. And so I was starting to like feel that and get a little depressed, feeling like I wasn't moving forward. And then, because usually I try to do a couple a year, at least one. I think the year before that I did like 5 or 6. And then this year I hadn't done even one. And there was no prospects of doing one. So I took a vacation, didn't help. And then I did a short film, and then I felt better.
Interesting.
So I think, I don't know. I think everybody's different. For me, just checking out every now and again. I don't know, because it's just, it's the stuff that you don't want to do. That's the stuff that burns you out, like the business side of things and whatnot. When I do a short film, I think that's my vacation. Telling a story, going through the process of telling a story, that's my vacation. That's my reset. As stressful and as hard as it is, that kind of centers me again. So for me, it's that. So I guess the answer must be just find what centers you. If it's completely checking out and going to a beach and doing nothing, then do that. If it's, writing, do that. If it's music, do that. I think we all just need to find that thing that kind of calms and centers us, and then, leverage that.
Yeah. That's cool. Your recharge is to make more films. That's awesome.
It's weird. It's what it is.
So you're working it all day, and then you're like, I need a recharge. Let's do a film.
Yeah, let's make a movie. Let's do something really difficult.
Yeah, that's cool.
But for sure, I try to take some downtime too, mostly for my family. Just spending time with my wife and kids is a huge recharge as well. So just having that grounding is huge.
Now, what type of person is a good fit to run a successful YouTube channel to the point where people can, get some finances supporting themselves, or just make it a success, a personal success? What do they need? What does it take?
I think the only real criteria you need is passion and a work ethic, and totally being okay working 24/7. I think that's pretty much it. Have a unique voice, be authentic. I hate to use that buzzword, but it's really true. I mean, if you come on trying to be someone else, no one's going to care. Yeah. That person already exists. Film Riot worked because there wasn't anything like Film Riot online at the time. The other show that I created with Eris Quinones, Variant, which is one of my other shows that I produce under Triune, worked because there was nothing like it at the time. So it's like if you're coming on trying to make a Film Riot or a Variant, those already exist, and the odds of success are way lower. If you're trying to beat Casey Neistat, he already exists. So it's, finding what makes you unique, what are you passionate about, and chasing that down. Because also, if you're trying to create a channel about something that you're not extremely passionate about doing, or experiencing, or letting other people experience through you, then you're just not going to do it, because it seems easy, but it's absolutely not easy. It's really hard. Even those guys who do the vlogging, I mean, that's not easy. Like the amount that you have to keep that camera on you, and the footage you got to get, and then turn that into a story that's worth putting up. Or if you're doing it daily like some of them do, that is nonstop stuff. So I mean, you really have to be you have to have something that's unique, but I think more than anything else, you have to be able to be willing to do it 24/7 and be in it for the long game, because very few people, there has been a few that they put up their channel and it launches very, very quickly. I always forget it. Peter McKinnon, I believe his name is. He's an example of someone who put up a channel and within a year, surpassed our subscriber count. So that does happen, but most people are at it for an extremely long time. We're going on, I think, 8 years now. This is our 8th year. Actually, wow. I think we're past it. I think we hit 8 years already.
That's awesome.
So I mean, you got to be willing to play the long game too. Not expect. It's kind of like we were talking about before. What are you doing it for? Are you doing it because you want 1 billion subscribers and you want 1 billion views? Or are you doing it because you're really, really passionate about this thing and you just got to put it up, and views and subscribers be damned, you're doing this either way. I think it takes that person.
Yeah, that's great. 24 hours, loving it, and just being in it for the long game. That's really great.
Yeah, man.
You know what I love about Film Riot is there's like how many episodes you have, and how every episode has a different technique and there's some touch of this and that. And I just imagine getting at the stage now, you're like, all right, shit, we did that. Okay. And it just brings you have to really be extra. You have to go deep in the brain, and you got to go external as well, and just figure out something new, and try something new and figure it out together.
Yeah,
it's really
for sure.
Great.
For sure, yeah, and we're like 809 episodes, I think 808 or something like that. But I mean, I'm always learning something new, and the guys that work for me are always learning something new. And even if the thing that they're learning that's new is something that I already know or have shown in the show, them learning it is a different perspective learning it, or a different way of doing it. There's a bunch of different ways that you can go about masking, like we talked about earlier. So you could teach all those different methods, but also the way that I did things in 2009, definitely not the way that I'm doing them now. So there's a lot of rehashing that can happen, because the show is always about, you want to be a filmmaker, so do I, let's figure it out. We weren't saying hey, here's how you make films. It was, hey, I want to make films. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to figure it out publicly. Come along for the ride. And then, a lot of, hey, look at what I figured out. Hey, look at what I learned. And that's still the case. I mean, I haven't made a feature, so I don't know what that that is exactly. We've done stuff at the level of what a feature would be. Like Ballistic is pretty much made like I would be making my feature, but it's not a feature film. The length adds a lot of difficulty, and the budget that goes in with something like that adds a lot of stress and a lot of difficulty and a lot of different responsibilities and things to be accountable for. And that's stuff that I'm going to be continuing to learn and to share. I mean, Ballistic, I learned a ton, and we're going to be sharing all of that on the show. So, there's always a forward progression. I think you never stop learning from what I can gather from, mentors that I have, people that I know. They say all the same stuff we say, they're just at a different level, but doing it the same way. And there's someone above them that they wish they knew as much as they know, and they want to learn from those guys. And, it's a never ending thing until, except for Spielberg. I mean, it's also like people emailing us or tweeting to us or whatever it is, saying like, hey, it would be great if you did this. And if enough people are saying it, then it's like, why don't we do that real quick? Or, a new movie comes out or something, and it's like, it'd be cool to, mess around and try to replicate that effect. And, you're using a lot of the same techniques, but you're using them in different ways. So I think there's an endless supply of interesting things you can do for sure.
Definitely.
But at times it does get a little, did we do this before?
Yeah. But I love that. Like you say, I mean, it's a different way, a different approach, a different time. So
yeah, for sure.
You guys replicated, if it wasn't you, it has to be you guys. You replicated the next movie. I don't know why I'm blanking. It was amazing, first of all. What the hell was it? It was with Harrison Ford, but it's this next one, the classic with, oh my God. You're not helping
Blade
me out,
Runner.
right? Oh, yeah.
Blade
there
Runner.
You go.
Yeah, Blade Runner 2049.
Dude.
Yeah.
That was insane. I was showing my friend, and we were just like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah, that was all Josh and Stark. I was out of town working on something. It might have been Ballistic.
Okay.
And Josh and Stark knocked that one out.
Wow.
It just looked awesome. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, we're kind of getting towards the end, but I have a couple other quick questions.
Sure.
Possibly. I wanted to ask any recent or old like books or docs or items that you think people should check out.
Scripts, man. Just read tons and tons of scripts. You can find treatments online. It's very interesting to read treatments or scriptments where it's like, kind of done in script format, and maybe it's like 20 pages or something like that, and it kind of just lays out the story. I think that stuff is really fascinating to read and often very enlightening, and how a character or a story is laid out very, very quickly, but over a long format idea. And just reading tons of scripts, I think, is so important. The DJ's podcast, The Director's Cut, is excellent. Script Notes podcast is probably my favorite. I adore it. The Jeff Goldsmith's podcast, the Writing Q&A podcast, is really great. James Mangold's interview on that is awesome. Matt Reeves' interview on that is really great as well. There's just so much. That's the stuff that I like the most. Like the books are great. I don't know that I quote books ever. I've read them, but I don't agree even with them half the time. I'm not saying that I'm right and they're wrong. It's just there seems to be this like, I don't know, this scholastic approach to, or I don't know. I don't even know how to put it.
I know what you
really.
mean, though. Wow. Yeah.
And they're good and they help people for sure. And I've suggested them. But the stuff that I've taken the most away from is things like interviews or actual works, like scripts or scriptments, or the people that are actually doing it, breaking down what they went through, what they're thinking, why they did it. That's the stuff that seems to be the most illuminating for me. Even Masterclass is a lot like that. They feel like very, very long, insightful interviews with the people sometimes. Like the Scorsese one just feels like the best, longest interview with Scorsese ever.
Wow.
The Ron Howard one is a little more practical. He actually gets on like this makeshift set and actually breaks down the scene and shows how he did the coverage, why he does the coverage in different ways. If he had little time, if he had all the time in the world, breaks down the whys to it, breaks down a couple of his own scenes. So I think that's one of the best pieces of educational material I've seen for directors so far for sure.
Yeah,
is
I want to check
Ron
those
Howard
out.
Masterclass.
I've been meaning to.
Oh, it's great.
Both of those.
And it's great
exactly.
now that I have nothing to do with them. They don't sponsor the show. They've never sponsored the show. I just love it. And now they have that, like, it's like a subscription service. And I can't remember how much it is, but I think it's like 100 to 180 bucks a year, I think. But
Wow.
you get all the classes.
Wow.
And now they have like 3 or 4 really great acting classes, which is great for a director to watch. Like the Dustin Hoffman one, he even directs in it. He's
Holy
like,
shit.
Yeah,
Didn't know
he's like
about
he's coaching the actors, and it's just great. And then you have the Ron Howard one, the Martin Scorsese one. Hans Zimmer has one, which is really great to, again, for a director. If you don't even want to compose, if you're just directing, it's amazing to hear a composer talking about how and why he did the things. He even talks about working with a director. So this is stuff that's like, extremely helpful. MZ has some really good classes. But just stuff like that, just hearing the process from different perspectives and not taking any one as law, but instead taking it as this is how they do it, and then listening to a ton of them, see what resonates with you, what lands with you, and then you get to start constructing your own process, your own method and way of going about it. That's what I've done, and that's what I personally find the most helpful, is things like that.
Yeah. And now, where would people find, like, where's the best spot you would say to actually read through some of those scripts and scriptments?
You could just Google it, really. You can find it. But I think if you just Google film scripts, you'll probably find the website that I go to. I can't remember the name of it offhand.
Okay.
It might be like Scriptly, or there's really like one main place. I just can't remember. If I Google it, I bet you I'll find it. You know what? I'm Googling it.
I was
You
going
can't
to do the
stop
same
me.
thing. Yeah,
I'm
okay,
doing it.
great. You do it.
Yeah, Scriptly Scripts.
Oh, all right. Scriptly Scripts. I'll
That's
put
a
that in the
name.
show notes.
But I use that one a lot. But I mean, often I'll just literally Google Script 4X. Weekend Read is an app from John August, which is great. They often have scripts in there that you can download and read it on your phone that way. But he doesn't have a ton of scripts there. But it's a cool way to read scripts on like an iPhone or an iPad.
Great. Yeah, I'm going to check out. That's great. Okay, you mentioned some amazing things to check out. Is there any like director's tool or special unique thing that you always maybe have on your person when you're shooting and directing a film?
Pen and paper.
Nice.
Always. I will always print out my shot list and my script, and I keep that in like this little, I got a plastic binder this time, because usually by the end of the shoot, the paper is just mangled and impossible. So I got like this little plastic binder that I could roll up and shove in my back pocket. And so I just carry that around with me. That way, once things are changing, which they always do, I can cross stuff out and start writing in new ideas. And then I can kind of keep track on what I'm doing. Because, just like Ballistic, just like every other short film I've ever had, there were at least 3 times where I had to completely throw out the plan and make it up as we went, because we were just out of time and we had to move fast. So I just had to make up a whole new plan. But I'm, writing down the things that I'm doing and my ideas as we go, so I can look at that and be like, okay, we're good. We have what we need. We can move on. So, for me, it's really just pen and paper.
Yeah. No, that's a great thing to have. If you don't have that, you're looking for it.
Yeah,
Great.
for sure.
Okay, now let's go deep. What
If
comes
you
to-
were a tree.
What would you have written on your epitaph, or for your epitaph? Is that how you say it? For on
On 4.
Yeah.
Not a douchebag. He did things.
I love it. That was fast. Have you
what
been
I
planning
hope,
that?
That's what I hope people. But
Oh, that's good. Okay, I love it. Let's
that's
stick
my
with it.
goal: is to be remembered as not a douchebag.
Fuck yeah.
Here's
okay.
hoping.
Now, I'm sure most people know where to find you, but what is the best place people can reach out to you on the socials or find your work?
Right now, it's just youtube.com/Film Riot, but we are working on our very first website, which is insane that it'll be pretty much our first. We had like this Squarespace site way in the beginning, but I was never happy with it, so I just never really promoted it much after like the first month. We didn't really do anything with it. So it's been like 7 years since we've had a website, which is crazy because we're an online company.
Yeah.
So soon there will be a filmriot.com. Right now, filmriot.com goes to a Bloodtober site, which is
I saw it. I loved it, though.
It's just sitting there, super old from 2016.
It's funny because I went there and I watched, of course, whatever was on there, but I was wondering, I was like, there's so much more. Where is it?
Yeah. We've been working on a website for a little while now, and that's going to be coming out, I hope, this month. Yeah, so hopefully, because we're just at the tail end of it. I just got an email with a bunch of new changes, and they're all looking really great. And we're going to grow the website over time. It's going to start without like a forum or anything. There won't be any forum or anything in there. But eventually we want to do that because we see that as obviously a way to really connect well with our audience. So we're going to want to do that, and then we'll eventually put in a gear page, which will be like suggested gear from us and places where you can click through and find cool stuff. And then eventually I want to try to probably early next year, hopefully, come up with a way to start connecting Film Riot people together, so if you're looking for stuff in a certain area or something, like this is a way to like get together. So hopefully over time, over the next 2 years, we just keep building Film Riot to be this really great place for filmmakers to come together. But to start, it's just going to be a central hub of everything we do. The episodes will be more easy to find there, probably, stuff like that. But that'll be out probably towards the end of the month. But right now, probably just youtube.com/Film Riot. And then in any episode, you could just open the notes, and all of our social media and whatnot is in there.
Okay. Yeah, and it seems like your Twitter, you're able to be reached. Like, is that your preferred one, or if someone wants to reach out?
That is the only one that I've decided I will try to keep up with people contacting me, because there's just too many. You got Instagram, Facebook. I'm pretty much never on Facebook. We post there, but I don't go there all that much. Instagram, I really dig Instagram. I haven't been posting there recently because I've been so busy, but I like Instagram. I usually will respond and stuff, but that's not really somewhere to be contacted. So yeah, I mean, Twitter is definitely the one that I do my best to answer every single thing sent to me.
Cool. All right. Last two questions. In one word, what are you constantly working on or improving that you find to be the most beneficial to yourself and those around you?
In a filmmaker level or a personal
No, in
level?
your life. Let's just say in your life.
I'll say selflessness then.
Very good. I like it. Okay. And now one step that people can take now, today, that can help them get on that path of thriving in the entertainment industry. Or, that's
make things.
Okay.
Make something, make anything, write something down, come up with an idea. I always say that any day that goes by that you didn't create something is a day completely wasted, and that should concern you. If this is what you want to do, every day you should be coming up with something. Even if it's just an idea for a moment, a line of dialogue, something that you're writing down, and you're just creating this backlog of ideas and concepts that you can just pick from. Just write a scene, write a one-page scene, draw one frame of a storyboard, anything, take your phone out, do a shot, do photography, and look at why that looked good or worked, look at light, anything. As long as you're creating daily, you're in the right direction.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that. Yeah, people could do more of that, and everything, I think, gets better. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and it's kind of surreal because I'm used to hearing you on Film Riot, and then when I ask you questions, you don't respond. You just keep talking. Seriously, it's kind of funny.
I don't get offended by yelling obscenities at me on YouTube.
Yeah, so it's been an honor, and I appreciate your time so much.
Right on. Thanks, man. It was fun.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, please show your support by taking a few moments and leaving a positive review on iTunes or Stitcher. It would mean a lot to me. It's like giving me an electronic hug or kiss. Thank you. Also, it's Sunday. It is Sunday, and I have a free newsletter that I've been sending out to subscribers which has the cutest little name, Smorgasbord Sunday. It's a weekly menu. I include the latest episode along with cool stuff I hunt and gather during the week to optimize professional and personal growth in the entertainment industry and this so-called life that I lead. Wonderful things, but not limited to: unique tools, industry hacks, inspirational excerpts, video gems, powerful quotes, and other magical doohickeys that I uncover. If you'd like to sign up, just go to the shortest website name, unfakeittillyoumakeit.com, and click on the podcast option where you can enter your email address to sign up. I have been logging all these weekly awesomes that come into my life for years now, and I finally have a nice little place for them. Time is running out, so I thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank you for listening to the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. For detailed sources and show notes for this episode, visit www.unfakeittillyoumakeit.com. Until next time, get up, get going, and get creative.